What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another vintage Star Wars loose graded video. We've got AFA, CAS, and UKG graded loose figures. Lots of great items, everything from some early figures to the last 17. As always, thanks to my Patreon supporters, you guys allow me to make more and better videos. Patreon.com/actionfiguregrader is where you can sign up to get 24 hours early access to all my videos. Let's dig into some great items. I'm filming this on Sunday, November 27th, and all of these auctions just ended, but I've got kind of a backlog of videos that have already been uploaded, so you may not see this for a few days, but let's check them out. We got a CAS graded dark blue dome R2-D2, and here's the label on that. It is in Hong Kong 2-line dark blue dome, as it's labeled, and it's graded CAS 85. You can see how dark blue the paint apps are on that silver head of R2-D2. In my opinion, this one is a little bit overgraded because the sticker is pretty yellowed. It's pretty yellowed for an 85. I think that really should be an 80 plus in my opinion, but that's just how I feel about it. It didn't stop the bidding, however. $372 on 29 bids plus $7 shipping. Took that one home. It's a gorgeous figure. I'm not trying to say it's not, but in my opinion, this would probably get an 80 plus at best with AFA, just given the yellowing to the sticker. And that's a common problem with those early R2-D2s. Next up was a UKG graded no COO Princess Leia Organa. And it was graded UKG 80%. Beautiful looking figure. 80, 80, 80 were the sub scores. And, I'm trying to figure out why it got the 80 score instead of an 85. It must be something going on with the limbs. And it does look like the limbs maybe are a little bit pinkish. Just some very slight hand wear, as you can see to the figure. But brand new K-style, beautiful figure. It sold for 148 pounds and change, which equates to about 180 US dollars plus shipping. The shipping to the US for Muffin Man, who's the seller here, the shipping is really prohibitive because he does use the global shipping program. I have bought from this seller in the past and been very happy. He's always got really nice figures, lots of foreign vintage that have been graded. But that one was $180 plus shipping. Took that one home. Here was a beautiful blue snaggletooth. This was Brian's Toys, graded AFA 80 plus. This one had the toe dent on the bottom of the figure here. As you can see right there, it's got that little toe dent on the right-hand foot. But a gorgeous figure. I think it's every bit of an 80 plus with AFA. You could argue that the torso is maybe a little darker than the limbs. A little bit of hand wear, but the paint on the boots and on the buckle were pretty good overall. I think an 80 plus was warranted for that one. That one sold for $800 plus $8 shipping. That one sold on 53 bids, so lots of action on that one. Gorgeous example, brand new K-style, but $800 I think is actually really fair relative to where these high-grade blue snaggletooths were selling earlier, even on Facebook earlier this year. So $800 I think is more than fair for that one, just in the current market environment. Next up, I thought this was a really good deal. This was a Spanish Poch painted legs Hoth Rebel Soldier, and it was a UKG 75%. Not very high grade, but that's very common with these early Spanish figures. They just don't have very good paint applications, and as a result, the paint degrades really easily, as you can see on this figure. Just it's starting to kind of wear off a little bit. Lots of paint chips and things like that. So appropriately graded, but for the price, I mean, you can't beat that price. It sold for 30 pounds, which is $35.75 US dollars plus shipping. Most likely, there was just so much else being sold at auction by the same seller at the same time that this one just got overlooked. And admittedly, again, it was a 75% grade, but still, that's a fantastic price for an early Spanish figure. Next up was a beautiful UKG 85% tri-logo Boba Fett, and you cannot beat this figure. It's absolutely gorgeous. No COO scar, unpainted knee, and this one did have the unpainted dart as well. So you can see that little shin piece there on the right-hand leg is unpainted, and then, of course, that dart is unpainted. A little bit of wear to it, but pretty amazing condition overall. Look at the gorgeous paint applications on that green armor, light blue Boba Fett, and again, it was graded UKG 85%. So me and Chris W. over at Rogue 5 Toys were curious as to where this one would end up. I said closer to 600 US dollars. He even thought it was going to be higher than that. But that just shows you how challenging the current market environment is, because this one sold for 435 pounds at auction on 39 bids, which equates to about $526. So this one came in even below my estimate and well below Chris's estimate for a UKG 85% tri-logo Fett. I mean, that's a pretty good deal in the current market environment. Next up was a UKG 85% blue smock Ugnaught, and this is just a standard Hong Kong figure. This one sold for 85 pounds plus shipping. I thought that was a pretty good deal. That equates to about 103 US dollars. But this is the one I wanted to talk about. This was labeled a purple smock Spanish Poch Ugnaught UKG 80%. And you can see on the label there, it's labeled Spanish Poch. And I just don't think that this is the Spanish figure. You can see right there, Poch, 80%, straight 80s for the subscores. Now, the hands on the Spanish Poch figure usually are very pale. I looked up this figure and compared it to the one in Javier Ruy Lopez's Spanish guidebook that talks about all the Spanish figures and has very detailed zoomed in photos of the figures. Now, could it be the Spanish Poch figure? Yes, of course. The Spanish figures were known, again, to have really strange paint applications. This one also did have a paint splatter on the wrists, as you can see, which does lead me to believe that it could be a Spanish figure. They're just known for very sloppy paint applications. And the COO, which was tough to see in this photo here, eBay's got kind of a wonky thing going on, so it's hard to show it, but made in Hong Kong on one leg, and, it's got some other date stamps on the other leg. The date stamps and the markings do match up with the Spanish figure, but the hands do not. The hand paint does not. It is sloppy paint, but the paint itself is not that really pale hands color that the Spanish figures were known for. So more than likely, I'm wrong and UKG is right, but it did give me a little hesitation, and I mentioned this in a video that hasn't quite aired yet. But you're gonna say, hey, look, or I'm gonna say, I would stay away from this because I don't think it's a Spanish figure. I could be wrong, okay? But I wanted to go through the logic. But UKG, in my opinion, is probably of the three big graders. They have the best knowledge when it comes to Spanish figures, just because they get the most of them in submissions from European toy collectors. So most likely I'm wrong again, but it did sell for 128 pounds and change, or about 155 US dollars. Now, ungraded on Facebook, on like Echo Base Vintage Variants, a lot of big name Spanish sellers would sell this for $300 plus, ungraded. So this one sold for, even after accounting for the global shipping program, it sold for about $200 to $210, and it's graded. So to me, either the market is basically saying, I'm a little iffy on this, or we're just in a down market, which, that could be possible too. But all of that being said, these are the kind of details that I look for in figures. I don't just trust the label, because in my opinion, this one it's iffy. It's very iffy as to whether it was a Spanish figure, because the paint on the hands does not match at all what was in the guidebook. But, again, Javier Ruy Lopez has gone on record saying, look, that guidebook is not complete. He just came out with another edition that added some more variants and things like that. So that first edition that he came out with was not complete by any means. And so who knows? But I just wanted to kind of share that information. Next up was a Spanish Poch Power Droid. Again, I couldn't tell on this one. It looks like the Spanish Poch, but who knows? It's just really tough to tell with that one in particular, especially inside the case without having it in hand or close-ups of the date stamps on it. But that one, apparently, the market says that this one was the Spanish figure because it sold for 338 pounds, or about 408 US dollars plus shipping on that one. So the market on that one at least matches more in line with what the market value is for a Spanish Poch figure. But again, they do go for more than this, loose and ungraded, on Facebook on some of the big groups. So who knows? But at least to me, this one was a little bit closer to market value. Next up was an Apple Head Yoda Hong Kong COO Orange Snake. But look how bright and green that head is on Yoda. That one is a super, super bright Apple Head Yoda. And one of the brightest I've ever seen. It might just be the photos, but I mean, that is a really bright green head. You can see how much different it is versus the hands on this one. So definitely the Apple Head, Pac-Man eyes. It was graded 85% by UKG. That one sold for 135 pounds plus shipping. I thought that was a great deal for a very bright head. Kind of interesting variant for Yoda collectors. Next up was another really good deal. This was an AFA 85 loose graded Cloud Car Pilot Hong Kong, brand new case style. Now, we documented an AFA 85 Plus that sold from CIB earlier this year for, it was over $800, which is insane to me, so that someone would pay $800 plus for a loose graded Cloud Car Pilot, but that was an 85 plus. This was an 85, but that still sold for $235.50 free shipping. I thought that was a fantastic deal for a very tough to find AFA 85 Cloud Car Pilot. This was another interesting one that the Muffin Man had for sale. It was a UKG 85% Han Bespin, but look at the side of the head. It had a very weird error where it was missing paint on the hair. So I thought it was interesting, number one, that it got a UKG 85%. Given that this was very clearly just missed paint by the factory. And it was also not labeled on the label. You think that that would be something that they would label. So interesting that it's got an 85% sub-score for the paint when, you know, it looks like he went to the barber and the barber sneezed and, you know, used the buzz cut and cut up the side of Han's head there. But interesting score, interesting label. I think it's a little strange, but it did sell for 77 pounds, which is $93 US plus shipping. Pretty interesting error. I just wish it had been labeled and probably graded a little bit lower. It probably did not deserve an 85% in my opinion. Next up was a beautiful Leia Bespin. This was a no COO, and this is the crew neck version. And it was graded 85%, straight 85s. I've got a no COO Leia Bespin, and the face plastic does not match this one at all. This one was very pale. Again, it could be the photos have been kind of brightened, but mine is much more peach and flesh colored. This is almost like a pale face geisha Leia, but a beautiful figure. That one sold for 114 pounds, which is $138 US plus shipping. Next up was a no COO olive hair Luke Bespin, graded UKG 80%. Definitely the mustard kind of hair for the Luke Bespin. It had a little bit of torso discoloration, which is a common problem with this particular figure, but 80% I think is appropriately labeled. It also had the brand new K-Style. That sold for 105 pounds, which is $127 US. That's a pretty good deal for kind of that mustard colored hair. I think that's a really interesting variant that I don't have in my collection. Next up was a Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight graded AFA 85. This was the Taiwan variant. It was listed for $325, best offer accepted. Unfortunately, 130point.com is down today, so I couldn't find out what the best offer was that was accepted. I'm guessing around $300 took that one home, but that's a really fair price, I think, for a high-grade Luke Jedi Taiwan variant with the brand new K-Style. Likewise, here was a Green Saber CAS 85 Plus Taiwan. So very similar. That one sold for $350 plus $7 shipping versus an AFA 85 that sold for let's call it about $300. Just a couple of data points. This one was a CAS 85 plus versus the AFA 85, but it seems like between 300 and 350 will get you a nice loose graded Taiwan Luke Jedi. Next up was a beautiful Lily Letty Bib Fortuna. This one sat on the market for a little bit. It was listed for like $400 for the longest time. And I was like, I'm not paying $400. Well, lo and behold, it dropped from $400 to $250. And then it immediately sold. And I was like, well, I would have paid that if I had the money. But $250 I think is very fair for a Lily Letty Bib Fortuna. Made in Mexico. Tough to find this one. I think it's a really nice figure. Brand new K-Style. $250 plus $11 shipping I think is a pretty good price on that one. Next up, I got a few last 17 to round out the video, and the AFA 85 Amanaman, and it was listed for $449.99. I did receive an offer, I believe, for $425, and it sold very quickly thereafter, so I'm assuming it sold for $425, although, again, I couldn't verify that because 130point.com was down, and that's where I checked my best offer accepted. But a beautiful figure, brand new K-Style. I think $425 is more than fair for that figure. Next up was a UKG 85% Barada. That sold for $142, which is $171 and change plus shipping. Even accounting for the global shipping price of $63, that puts you at about $230 for a UKG 85% last 17 Barada, brand new K-Style. Very fair price, very fair price. Even better if you're in the UK and you bought that one. 142 pounds for that, I think was a great price. Next up was a last 17 Yak Face, graded UKG 85%. That one had the brand new K-Style. That one sold for 580 pounds, which equates to about $701 plus shipping. Again, I think that price was very fair, given that we have several data points here recently where AFA 85 examples have sold for over $1,000, so $1,000 to $1,100. So you discounted a little bit for a UKG 85% versus the AFA. $700 is more than fair for that one. Next up, to finish off the video, I've got a UKG 90% third generation Polish bootleg AT-AT Commander. Beautiful figure. This one was displayed and encased with the AT-AT driver's weapon. This is a bootleg weapon. Usually it goes with the AT-AT driver, not the commander, but the weapons for the 3rd generation Polish bootlegs are interchangeable. They were just sold in big bags, so you can kind of mix and match them as you please. So this submitter decided to submit it with the AT-AT driver bootleg weapon, but UKG 90%, beautiful example. That's the darker charcoal gray for the rubber that was used on that one. And mine, I've got one very similar to this that's graded, I think, CAS 85. That is a lighter charcoal gray. But that one's the very, very dark example. That one sold for 102 pounds, which is about 123 US bucks, plus $62 US shipping. I thought that price was great for a very high-grade Polish bootleg. They don't come up for auction very much, and they definitely don't come up for auction when they're already graded like this. So great pickup, whoever got that one. Anyway, that's all I really had for this video. I hope you enjoyed looking at some of these great loose graded figures. Lots of good prices overall, some pretty good deals out there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.